Road to Vostok is an interesting game, as I came into this expecting a fully Tarkov-style experience. And I'm not entirely wrong, but I also am in some regards. For my entire time of playing this game, which is around 22 hours now, I just had to check Steam, uh, I have gotten the feeling of a lot more casual Tarkov-like game. It has an interesting gameplay loop without a lot more of the aggression and, I guess, sorrow that comes from getting your ass kicked in Tarkov. However, you still feel a lot of stress and a lot of fear over losing your stuff. And it brings a bunch of interesting gameplay mechanics that Tarkov doesn't seem to really have, at least I haven't looked into it enough. And it provides an interesting gameplay experience despite the fact that it is only a single player game. Continuing on this idea, Road to Vostok has many different systems that you have to contend with. For example, the traders, which not only have tasks similar to Tarkov that you can rank up with, but also have a interesting trade bar, which replaces the monetary system. While I could explain these things to you, there is 17 boards of tutorials in this game, and I don't really feel like explaining all of it, so I'm just going to go over the bits and pieces that I like, as well as the gameplay loop. So let's immediately start off with Road to Vostok's combat and looting system, and yes, these both feed into each other. Road to Vostok has a variety of weapons, but realistically you'll only be using a few for quite a while, like the AKM that you can see me using in this footage. A lot of enemies carry weapons that fire in certain calibers, and even more so, a lot of enemies are very aggressive with these calibers, whether it's 9x19 in MP5s or 7.62x39 in standard rifles like RK95s or AKMs. No matter what, every enemy should be treated like a threat, as every single one has not only variable amounts of loot, but infinite ammo. This is, however, immediately counterbalanced by the fact that there is only 10 enemies that will spawn in each map. So if you go into the village, there will only be 10 enemies there for your duration of the visit, but if you leave and come back, those 10 enemies will have spawned back in, which leads into the looting system. The looting system of Vostok is interesting because a lot of the times you will be stuck in your inventory screen. Now, while this may seem like a detriment, you can eat food and other items whilst you are doing other actions like shooting, but not opening doors. In addition to this, there is also a crafting system in the game, which you are seeing me utilize right now in the footage. Now, as of my time playing, there is very few things that you are able to craft due to it being a demo, but one of the main things that is required for one of the trader quests is an improvised cooking station, which allows you to utilize a mess kit and canned food items to cook additional food that can be a little bit better than the food that you will find out in Vostok. But I digress. The looting system of Vostok is very quick, snappy, and doesn't mess with you in the sense that other extraction shooters do, where you have to wait for your character to search and discover the items. You can just open up the menus, see what's there, control left click, put it in your inventory, and run away, which is all well and good. This, I feel, is a powerful part of Vostok, as it allows for quick looting due to the fact that you are almost always on edge with the enemies as well as the environments. Now, before we get into the environments, you've probably noticed the obscene amount of bars at the bottom left of my screen. Now, don't worry, even though these are core to gameplay, they aren't abnormally weird. You have your health, you have your stamina, you have your arm strength, you have hydration, and you have energy. Keep in mind, they aren't exactly listed in that order. Health is self-explanatory, it's the amount of hit points you can take before you die. Energy and hydration are just your food and drink, so anything that's a liquid goes into hydration, and things that are food go into energy. These do have spillover, so do keep in mind that you can eat a can of meat and get some hydration. Now when it comes to arm strength and stamina, stamina is affected by your hydration and energy levels, whereas arm strength is actually quite interesting. In Road to Vostok, you can either have your weapon up at the ready, like in typical shooters, or you can have it lowered at your side, which does not cost arm stamina. If you have it up though, it will be a lot easier to blind fire, but you won't have the ability to, well, it takes a second for you to keep your arm up, so you'll lose stability. However, this isn't too much of a detriment. Again, I know we cannot get into the environments yet, and I apologize for that, but there's one more thing that I need to discuss when it comes to the bars. Now you'll see at the bottom left of my screen that I have received a special type of injury underneath all of those bars. That would be a laceration in this instance. Now, these effects can immensely harm your ability to do basically anything. For example, if you have a broken limb, you will need a splint. If you have a laceration, you will need a tourniquet. Now, there are some items that can completely negate any type of effect, for example, an IFAK kit or a med kit, but these are very rare and few and far between, so you need to use them sparingly. This is what makes Road to Vostok's combat and looting systems very, very special, because not only are you going to have to be constantly running around the environments to try and find these things, but you will basically be constantly reloading instances, fighting the same enemies over and over again, and relooting everything and hoping that the trader has something good, so that way you may survive that much longer, which sounds like a very boring gameplay loop, but when the bandits are virtually anywhere and you're already struggling to survive, it makes for a quite fun gameplay loop that I have found myself craving quite a bit. Now we can finally get into the environments of Road to Vostok. Road to Vostok's post-apocalyptic theming makes for a very interesting world that they have chosen to build, which is basically no one is set in any specific place. Everyone is running from home to home, finding as many supplies as they can, and then gunning down anyone they see. And the only exceptions to this are the two traders that are currently in game, that being the doctor and the generalist, who will still ask things of you, and if the area near the generalist is to go by, will shoot you dead if you try anything. Now, this is honestly a very fun environment to explore, if not a little bit lackluster. I feel that there's not a lot there in the sense of uniquity. It feels very samey, like the trees are green, there's occasionally some flipped cars and graffiti everywhere, but it doesn't actually feel like there's something that makes it post-apocalyptic. Fences are still standing, cars still have their paint, weapons are still in pretty decent quality condition, and you're even being sold things like military helmets and backpacks as well as their own jackets. As much as I love the vibe of the game, I can't help but feel like the environments could benefit from a little bit more of that just semi-apocalypse design. Even though later in the game, in areas like Minefield and Radar, it really tries to crank it up, it doesn't seem like there's just enough of it. It seems very still that lackluster feeling, like there just isn't enough. So as much as I love Vostok, I do hope that it gets more as its demos go on, as I would love to see how much the developers of this game choose to modify it. Thanks for watching, I suppose. Have a good one. I have no idea what the hell I've been doing, but you chose to watch it, so thank you. Bye!